in. The following program is brought to you by Tiger Media Net. That program being, it came from the DVD collection.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. My name is John Billinger and this is...
I'm Connor Keating.
And today we will be discussing Godzilla versus Destoroyah! Which is how people in the fan community like to say the title of the movie. Just FYI, in case you were confused. So, this is one of the most popular and most beloved Godzilla films ever made. This came at the tail end of the Heisei era of Godzilla films, which lasted from 1984 to 1995. Began with The Return of Godzilla, which we reviewed earlier this semester, although we reviewed the 1985 version of it with Raymond Burr. Mm-hmm. And now we're finishing off with Godzilla vs. Destoroyah! We skipped over Biollante, we skipped over King Ghidorah, Mothra, Mechagodzilla 2, Space Godzilla. We're just at Destoroyah! So, yeah, and this is one that's very popular with the fans. They really like this movie, and I like the movie too. And Connor...
this movie is garbage. This is... one of the worst.
This is Godzilla. A hot take.
One of the worst Godzilla movies in the entire series.
Yeah, and I just think it's fine. Personally, I think it's,
I think in the grand scheme of things, yes, it's just a mediocre Godzilla movie, but it's the fact that this you look at most people's top 10 lists. You go on to various comic book sort of nerd culture websites, and they're ranking all the Godzilla movies. Destoroyah is always within the top 10, sometimes even the top 5. I think its Rotten Tomato score is 100%, and on Letterboxd its score is in the 3 range, which is actually good, right? Because Letterboxd, the highest I've ever seen is 3.6. I'm gonna look it up. Versus Destoroyah.
I've always liked it.
It's got a 3.8. 3.8 is really stinking good for a Godzilla movie, right? -1 has a 4.1 or something. But this movie is absolute trash. It is... Yeah, it's worse than I remember.
We're going to get people mad at us in the comment section.
I hope they're mad.
They're going to leave death threats on us.
Yeah, they deserve it.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen, but what I really hope for is someone giving us a copy of The Lost Skeleton Returns again.
Yeah.
I want that to happen. Please send it to FHSU if you have it. If you listen to this show, send it to us. Okay, so I guess let's give a little bit of background on this movie. I'm going to give Connor a lot of this because Connor really hates this movie, and I just want him to get angry.
All right, what do you want me a plot synopsis or the story behind the movie?
I guess story behind the movie.
I don't know. Well, I'm trying to think when to start because it's they wanted to end this series because
they wanted to end the Heisei series
because
Godzilla.
The American Godzilla movies were going to come out. They originally wanted to
end the TriStar Godzilla.
They originally wanted to end it with Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2.
Yeah, which is not a sequel.
No, not a sequel to the original, but a sequel to Godzilla and Mothra, The Battle for Earth. Anyways, they wanted to end off the Heisei series with Mechagodzilla 2, and then you had the 1994
Godzilla versus Space Godzilla.
No, the American Godzilla 1994 film that was scrapped.
Oh,
the one that had Stan Winston attached to
it.
That one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that film was in pre-production, but then it got scrapped. It was going to cost too much money. Ironically, the movie that the United States did make, that TriStar did make, costed a lot more. But anyways,
how it always goes.
Anyways, because that film got scrapped, Toho rushed out Space Godzilla, and then they're okay, now TriStar is actually doing something, right? They're
making that thing.
They're making that thing. All right, so finally time. Let's end the Godzilla series, and so they made Godzilla vs. Destoroyah.
And there were also a bunch of scrapped versions.
There are lots of scrapped versions.
There was Godzilla vs. Varan, which would have been an interesting choice for
this-
Godzilla's, like the monster that kills Godzilla is Varan.
At one point,
And then
Baggin.
Ghost Godzilla.
Yeah, there was Ghost Godzilla. There was Baggin. There's one where it's like, I forget how to pronounce its name. It starts with the B, but it's like it was like a big whale-looking monster.
Yeah. Let's say it's a combination between a whale and gorilla. That would have been clever.
No, it was like a whale with like, I can't even remember. It looked like a weird whale homunculus. I don't even know how to describe it.
Interesting.
It was just like a mound. It was
Yeah.
weird.
Baggin's kind of an interesting one that they wanted to use him because they've been wanting to use him for many years in the films. Like he was going to be in 84, and then he got cut. And then I think he was going to be in the sequel, and then he got cut and replaced with Biollante.
Well, no, Biollante was a competition.
Oh, yeah.
He was going to fight Mothra at one point.
Yeah.
He was, I think, probably the one who was supposed to be in Space Godzilla, and then they went to a Space Godzilla.
And he finally did appear in Godzilla, Super Godzilla,
Yeah,
for
Super
the
Godzilla.
SNES,
And
or
then
the
he-
SNES.
And then he recently appeared in Godziban, the children's Godzilla puppet show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
That's
he
some
recently
top
got
tier Godzilla content.
He recently got a Bandai vinyl. He was in something else. I can't remember. I think it was a video game.
Monster
or
Island
something.
Buddies.
No. He did get a toy recently though. That was kind of.
Well, maybe he
the
will
biggest
appear
thing.
in there soon.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see.
Don't hold your breath. But should I get to the plot of this?
Yeah,
dumb
let's get to
movie?
the plot of this movie.
Okay. So I'm going to summarize the plot in the
Okay.
best way to prove my point correct, all right? So basically, Godzilla is melting down,
Oh,
right?
no.
He is getting, right? He's a walking nuclear reactor, and he's going into meltdown. He's getting so hot, and if he reaches, he keeps getting hotter, and if he reaches a certain temperature, at first they're like, oh, he's going to explode, and then later they're like, oh, actually, maybe he'll just melt the entire Earth.
And kill us all.
So yeah, this isn't just like, oh, he's going to destroy Japan if he melts down. No, he's going to destroy the entire world if he melts down.
You think at that point the United Nations would get
Yeah.
involved or something like that.
Meanwhile,
But no, they never do in these movies.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you've got this scientist who's working on this oxygen project, and it's vaguely similar to the oxygen destroyer, and so then they start like, there's this whole interesting sort of subplot with, do we make an oxygen destroyer or not? Is this scientist's works going to be used for oxygen destroyer? And then they're like, okay, you need to use it to make an oxygen destroyer. And then they're freaking out about Godzilla melting down, trying to figure out what to do. And then out of nowhere, a fish in an aquarium just like disintegrates. And then there's something in a test tube, and then suddenly they're ripping off aliens, and there are these big crabs attacking people, and then the crabs turn into a bigger crabs, and then they turn into an even bigger crab, and then they turn into like a flying crab, and then Godzilla Jr. shows up.
And it becomes Destoroyah!
Jr. shows up.
Yeah.
Destoroyah kicks his butt. And then Godzilla shows up, and then they spend the rest of the movie just like, oh yeah, the crab gets bigger, he becomes Destoroyah final form, whatever the heck. And then they spend the rest of the movie fighting, and then Godzilla goes into meltdown, the army destroys Destoroyah, and then they use this freezer weapon that was just there the entire time, that had nothing to do with that oxygen destroyer plot, and then they freeze Godzilla, and then the problem was solved. None of it. It wasn't actually that big of a deal. They could just shoot the freezer weapon that they've had this entire time at him, and that's Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. Wow, what a great movie!
But continuity.
I don't care. Okay.
That's like one of the big things the Heisei, the second series of Godzilla films, have, is that they're all connected.
Yeah, and
they all have like some of the reoccurring characters in
they
there.
have Miki Sagusa. She's in this movie. It doesn't matter that she's here though.
Yeah, she's a pretty secondary character in this.
It's like her biggest role after Biollante is like Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, and that's like that's like the Heisei Godzilla movie among Heisei fans that they'll say like, yeah, that movie's not even that good.
Is the Space Godzilla?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess she kind of became the Raymond Burr of the Heisei films.
Not even.
He's just there. So no, you don't like the plot, huh?
No, I think The thing about the plot of Godzilla vs. Destoroyah is that the first half is actually pretty solid. It's solid setup. The characters aren't like the greatest thing ever, but it's like, oh, you give them time. Then they just throw all of that away. They, the whole cool subplot of do we make an oxygen destroyer doesn't matter. No, destroyers are oxygen destroyers. That's the dumbest thing ever. It's just a lot of wasted potential, in my opinion. I honestly think this movie would be better if you just didn't have Destoroyah and you made the entire film just about Godzilla's melting down. How do we stop it? Do we use the oxygen destroyer? Do we try to make this alternative freezer weapon?
That would be an interesting idea.
Yeah, I think that would just be a better film than this one, because what we get here is them setting up that plot, and then a crab shows up out of nowhere, and then Godzilla fights the crab for like 40 minutes, and then that's the movie.
It is a little like a thing you didn't. I don't know if you mentioned this about Destoroyah, but he's made from the I guess leftover particles from the oxygen destroyer from the original Godzilla. I think is kind of a clever way to tie it back.
I think I think I would enjoy it a lot more if Destoroyah represented the oxygen destroyer better.
He doesn't.
No,
he just looks like the devil.
Yeah, he's just like a demon crab. But like you look at Godzilla, right? He's got the the radiation burn sort of skin. He's got a head that kind of looks like a mushroom cloud. The spikes that kind of look like explosions, right? His design is meant to like embody the atomic
bomb.
The atomic bomb, right? And then of course he's radioactive. He's got the atomic breath. He's indestructible, whatever. Destoroyah, he has attacks that are vaguely themed around the oxygen destroyer, and that's it. And it's like, even then, the only real ability that like gives off like feeling like the oxygen destroyer is when he's in a microscopic form and he eats a fish. Besides that, none of his other attacks really like feel like the oxygen destroyer. Like if he shot his beam and like, I don't know, like all of the skin on Godzilla's hand fell off or something crazy like that, that would be like, I know, that would be like an impossible effect to pull off, especially in like 95.
I think they would have found a way to pull it off.
I don't think the Heisei effects team could pull it off, to be honest. I think
the Heisei films that do have good effects, but we'll get to that later.
I'm gonna rip you apart for that. Okay, so yeah, I just think, yeah, and then when it comes to the design, it's like there's nothing that really says oxygen destroyer. I think if it was like maybe like, I don't know, like a fish skeleton sort of monster, like had some sort of fish skeleton type elements, maybe that would be, I don't know, I think that would give off more of an oxygen destroyer vibe. It would be a hard thing to design. I will admit that. Yeah. But
on his own, do you think Destoroyah is like a good monster? Like, divorced from the film.
In Godzilla Unleashed? Oh, heck yeah. He's my main in Godzilla Unleashed.
Wow. I'm an Angerous guy all the way.
Oh, I'm gonna A-B combo you the entire time. I hope you like being on the ground.
Okay, great. What do you think of the acting in this movie?
It's a Heisei Godzilla movie. It's fine. We were watching the dub.
Yeah, the dub was pretty weak.
It's not a good dub. It's like the only version of this film that's like relatively available. I know that the Blu-ray has the Japanese version. I'm pretty sure it does. But most of those, the Blu-ray that Sony released, they released a bunch of Blu-rays around 2014s. A lot of those are kind of hard to get nowadays.
They are?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah and Mothra combo pack is like $70 for the Blu-ray one. The DVD one's worth nothing, but the Blu-ray one is pricey. It might even be more than $70 nowadays. He's looking it up, by the way.
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
But just the King Ghidorah and Mothra one. I think the other ones are probably like
Okay, so I got $12 for Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Attack.
Yeah.
Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla is $13.68. Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, Godzilla vs. Megaguirus, the G Annihilation Strategy is $13.27.
Yeah, that's a weird combo pack. That's also the reason that I don't have the Japanese version of this film, is because that's just a weird pack.
Yeah, that's just a weird one. I mean, it's like, pack that movie with Godzilla 2000. Yeah. That makes more sense. No, Godzilla 2000 is by itself.
I think it's because they ran out of space.
I think I'm just getting too
I assume
mad.
Mechagodzilla 2 and Space Godzilla are stuck together.
Okay, here we go. The Godzilla versus King Ghidorah and Godzilla versus Mothra Battle for the Earth is...
You're looking at the Blu-ray, right?
Yeah! Lowest price. Oh, wait.
$120?
$175.
Those movies
plus
suck.
plus $3.99 shipping and handling.
Those movies suck, by the way. I like King Ghidorah, but it promotes Imperial Era Japan, which is a little yikes.
We should do that one. We don't have time.
We don't have time. And then Godzilla Mothra the Battle for Earth is the worst Godzilla movie ever. Anyways, back to Destoroyah.
But yeah, this dubbing is very just below average in my opinion. And what annoys me is that they don't call Destoroyah, they call him Destroyer.
Yeah, his name is officially Destoroyah.
It's Destoroyah!
Yeah, and then they call him Destroyer.
It's so annoying. It's like that time I watched Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 and they keep calling Rodan Radon, which is his Japanese name. That is his
Japanese name.
But in English, it's Rodan. Rodan!
It gives off Gigantus vibes.
Yeah, it's like Gigantus the Fire Monster.
Or Anguirus.
Anguirus. Or The Thing. Calling Mothra the Thing.
Okay, they only call her that like once or twice in the dub of that movie.
But it is annoying when it says, "Look, it's the Thing." It's like even the characters forgot what it was called. It's like, "Oh, it's the Thing." Yay!
That movie's awesome, by the way. Anyways, back to
That is a
Destoroyah.
good movie. That is one of the best of the Showa Godzilla films.
Yeah, by far. Well, I like the Showa films, but that's a really good one. Anyways, Destoroyah.
Anyway, now we're up to the effects, and look, the effects are good in the Heisei films, right?
No, they aren't. Okay, here's the thing about the Heisei films. I pointed out the toys that were literally used in this movie to you, and I remember you cringing. You might have suppressed this memory.
Yeah.
But I remember.
I remember it. I remember the scene where you pointed out where Godzilla's attacking Hong Kong, and he's in the background, and in the foreground is just actual footage of Hong Kong. So you see people walking
casually walking, cars driving towards Godzilla. All right, here's the thing about
Godzilla attacks every time.
Here's the thing about the Heisei series effects, right? You have Return of Godzilla, good effects. Biollante, some of the best effects in the franchise. The effects team then got like a big head. And then they get to Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, and then they just don't care anymore. And then that progresses all the way to Destoroyah. And then they pick back up just a little bit in 2000 in Megaguirus, and then by Jim K, we're back in the good effects. But anyways, here's the thing about the suits, right? They make these big, impressive, super cool, good-looking suits, sure. They look good in a photo as a statue, but in motion, they are about as articulate as a statue. They can barely walk. Mecha King Ghidorah from that film, historically, was so heavy that no actor was inside of the suit. They just had to stand at one side of the stage, and it just shot lasers. Destoroyah's not that bad, but it's still like a very stiff suit. The little Destoroyahs, their suits. Pretty stiff. It looks like Shakira's, where you've got the legs moving at kind of like the wrong pace as it's moving. You've got the toy versions of the little Destoroyahs like sliding around as the tanks are shooting at it in one of the scenes.
When you do not like these movies.
I do not like the Heisei films, and the effects are one of those areas where it's like everybody's like, oh my gosh, they're so good. No, they really aren't that great. They really suck.
Do you think it's one of those things where people are just clouded by nostalgia?
I think so. But or
they just like the idea of the movies better than the actual movies.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I did grow up with all of not all of them, like the ones that I hate the most are the ones that I grew up with, truthfully.
Wow.
I grew up with the King Ghidorah Mothra combo pack, the DVD, not the Blu-ray. And then the Space Godzilla and Destoroyah combo pack, so I grew up with these movies.
Did you hate them back then?
No, I really liked them. I liked Space Godzilla. There's a video on my YouTube channel where I'm going through my top 10 Godzilla movies. Space Godzilla was number 3 or something like that, right? But it's just upon watching these films, later on down the line, it's wow, these are not good at all. And I think, yeah, it is mostly due to just people really liking the idea of, oh, there's this cool continuity. You've got this cool-looking Godzilla. You've got these cool-looking monsters. Yeah, they look cool. Space Godzilla, one of the coolest-looking monsters, in my opinion.
I never liked Space Godzilla.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's just Godzilla with a bunch of crystal
I
crap
really,
on his
I really
back.
dig Space Godzilla, but it's like when you watch these all these suits in motion, it is really bad. Like, they're just so stiff, and it doesn't help the fact that they are just spamming beams most of the time. Destoroyah, I will give the film credit, not as beam spammy as some of the previous Heisei films, but when they get close to each other, it is just the two monsters bumping into each other until one anticlimactically falls over. And that's your action sequence for the film. Wow, that's really awesome. And so that then goes straight into the action.
I guess, how would you compare that to the older Showa Godzillas?
Like, a lot more grappling, a lot more throwing each other, a lot more...
The Showa ones, yeah, they do grab each other a lot more.
Yeah, it's a lot more, like, I don't know, visceral, a lot faster pace. Like, they're not like... Well, I mean, you have raids again, but, you've got a lot more of that grabbing and throwing each other around. And I know they're not Godzilla movies, but like Frankenstein versus Baragon or War of the Gargantuas, those are like kind of the pinnacle of, grabbing each other and just throwing each other.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of that.
And they didn't really do that with the...
Heisei, yeah.
Maybe it's because, I don't know, maybe they wanted them to act more like actual animals, maybe?
That was the idea. The idea was... like the effects guy was like, he didn't want it to look like guys in suits, and so what he did was make them look even more like guys in suits, but make them look like guys in crappy stiff suits as they stand on opposite sides of the stage and shoot laser beams at each other for 30 minutes. And wow, that's really awesome.
Well, okay, wow. Well, just to go through my opinions on all these,
Yeah.
I always thought it was just an okay movie, in my opinion.
Why? What makes it so not bad?
It's just kind of it's okay. I don't know. I don't know what it is about it, but it's just like, I'll sit down and watch it, and yep, that was a movie, and yep, I'll go on with my day.
Wow.
Do you at least get sad when Godzilla dies?
No, I don't.
Oh my God.
I have no attachment to the Heisei Godzilla himself. I like Biollante. That's it.
And then Godzilla 85, you just don't care about.
Yeah, 84 is... It's better than this movie, I'll give it that.
Are you more attached to, say, the Showa Godzilla?
Yeah, but like
He's pretty goofy fun.
Even if they did have like Showa Godzilla dying, I'm not sure I would...
Well, technically they did.
Okay, yeah.
In his first movie.
In his first movie.
But he came back.
He came back.
Or it's just a different Godzilla.
Yeah.
Well, technically it's Gigantus, but that's another story.
But
I just always just thought, the Heisei films were just all in all just okay to me. Like, none of them were really my favorites.
I think that's...
I didn't grow up with the Heisei films. I grew up with the Showa films.
I think that's the more, probably, I don't know, more, I guess, more realistic take on the Heisei films. I hate them because I think it's really mostly due to the general sort of fan opinion around these films. Because
especially since I guess these are the versions that are usually represented.
Yeah, I think I'm probably a lot more embedded in like the online Godzilla community than you are.
Yeah.
And so I've had to like...
I've watched Monster Island Buddies. Rawr!
I've had to like, I don't know, deal with these Heisei fans.
Yeah, who are just all like...
Yeah, no, I'm just as bad, to be honest.
There's fan bases like that for everything.
I'm just as bad, to be honest, about Showa and Millennium Godzilla films, but yeah, it's just
fan bases in general can be pretty toxic.
Yeah.
You should see the Godzilla, not the Titanic fan community.
Just the Titanic fan community.
Oh yeah, it can get pretty toxic, man.
They're probably on, like as toxic as the World War II community or something.
Yeah, it's basically just like, no, I'm right, okay, about this fact. You're wrong.
No, step number 23 on the grand staircase is way better than step number 12.
Okay, well, actually, I think there is probably some people like that. Or people who like judge like sinking animations or judging like recreations of film sets.
You know, you got the kid who makes his little fan animation on YouTube. No, that's wrong. It didn't sink that fast.
Actually, that is very accurate. There is actually a lot of people like that.
I mean, it's probably I think it's pretty similar for like the tank fighter jet community as well.
Anyway, fighter jet community.
Yeah. Back to Destoroyah.
Or the Cars fan community. I'm talking about like Disney's Pixar's Cars. So, what rating would you give this movie?
3. Maybe a 2.
Wow.
2. Well, it's 2.
Okay. Connor gives it a 2-star, 2 burning Godzillas.
Out of 10.
Actually, no. 2 burning hearts out of 10 burning Godzillas. I'm going to give it 6 stars out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is really better than Land Unknown.
Yeah. I would watch this movie over Land Unknown. To be fair, because this movie didn't make me angry.
This movie makes
Land
me
Unknown.
angry.
Land Unknown made me angry.
Yeah, sorry, but this Destoroyah makes me... It makes me burning... I hate this with a burning passion.
Like burning Godzilla. Yeah. Well, anyway, I think that's all we have today. Join us next time for our Thanksgiving movie. What's it called again?
Lake Michigan Monster?
No, I thought it was Legends of Monster Birds or something.
No, we're not watching that movie. What are you talking about?
I thought you suggested that.
No, I don't. I never suggest that. On my shelf is Lake Michigan Monster and Shin Ultraman.
Oh yeah, it is Lake Michigan Monster.
Lake Michigan Monster. I'm gonna
not Legends of Monster Birds or something.
And I'm gonna try and force Aiden to watch Lake Michigan Monster because it's a movie.
It is one of the movies of all time. We'll see what my schedule looks like. Hopefully we'll have that out for Thanksgiving break. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Connor, do you have anything else to say to the audience? Okay, well, goodbye.
Absolutely ghoulish, wouldn't you say, listener? Anyway, this podcast was written and produced by John Billinger and Connor Keating. The movie covered, Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, is the property of Toho Company Limited. And this has been a Tiger Media Net production.